Yo, happy Saturday. What am I talking about today? What I'm talking about today is cognitive functioning and why it might be important to you. So I guess the biggest reason why I like talking about that is because you want to be able to learn, right? Like everybody says you're supposed to learn all of this stuff, right? But what if your mind doesn't want to learn or want to learn right now? You know what I mean? Like you're supposed to be learning things, but you got other stuff going on inside your head that you got to deal with, other like all types of different stressors, right? Life's about adapting to stress, right? So you got all these different stressors going on. If you don't, then, whatever. You still might want to increase your cognitive functioning. The reason why that might be is because it's the neuroplasticity of your mind, right? Being able to absorb more information. What if, there's things that you need to do and you have to learn how to do them first? Well, that's what everything, right? As a human being, you always want to be able to learn things, right? But it's not always the easiest thing, especially if you're dealing with a lot. So, cognitive functioning. Cognitive functioning is the ability to, it's the natural ability that human beings have in the first place because, you hear things, you respond to what you hear, you respond to what you see, you respond to any stimuli that goes through your nervous system to your brain, right? You have autonomic processes that happen on their own, but in the same instance, with those autonomic processes, there's also the chance of you having to take and override that autonomic process and use more of your cognitive functionings, right? So that's where increased cognitive functioning comes in. Because just sitting still from time to time, that's for some people that's kind of a hard thing to do, and what ends up happening is it's because you feel like you got to do something else, like whatever you got in front of you isn't the most important thing. So it's almost like an overlapping of a thought process, right? And that's not fun, right? It's not fun because you're trying to get things done. You're trying to get things accomplished. So if you're trying to get things accomplished, any distractions can be a deterrent from that, right? You start to have that fuzzy feeling in your mind where it's I know I'm supposed to be doing this, but I got this other stuff. And so supplements. Why did I start taking supplements? Originally, I started off I wanted to be a bodybuilder because I saw that, you know what I mean? I did okay in school, you know what I mean? But that was one of the things that I was always interested in, becoming physically stronger, right? So, I started taking herbs like tribulus tetris and multivitamins and creatine. And then there was the Gaspari Nutrition, right? I was big into Gaspari Nutrition. That was a very good company and it's very well organized, you know what I mean? So there's that, right? But then what ended up happening was that I started to realize, you know what I mean? My diet wasn't quite the way I would like for it to be. I would, work out all day, but then after I work out, I eat a pint of ice cream. That's not healthy, right? You know what I mean? So it was almost counterintuitive. But then what ended up happening is I would stop taking supplements and then I would start back taking them hey, I'm going to try this supplement or that supplement. And I found some that worked, some I stuck with, some I didn't. They didn't work for me. I didn't see any difference in my cognitive functioning. Now, why might you say I was concerned with my cognitive functioning? Because I was aware that, I had got hit by a car when I was younger. Sometimes I would forget about that and I would just go about my day and not even remember it. But I always felt I had there was something that I felt like I needed to fix. So I kept taking supplements and I started to learn about nootropics. What nootropics are, they call them smart drugs. The drug is a strong term. But I mean, it depends on how you look at it. It depends on your viewpoint of the word. From a scientific viewpoint, it's, hey, we've put a lot of science into this, and so now we feel safe enough to give this to the generalized public, if you will. That's my understanding of it. Well, what ended up happening was over time, working a lot, trying to take care of my family, I got into an accident, right? a couple actually, like, but like the one that really kind of messed me up, like it changed my viewpoint of life a little bit, because I was like, well, if this keeps happening, like maybe, like, maybe it's a sign. So what I took from that was I started to read books again, because for a while I didn't want to read books. That triggered it, but I would read and I still wouldn't be able to understand what I was reading, or I would have to read things like 3 and 4 times before I could comprehend it, right? So I kept taking supplements, but I started taking them for a different reason. I was in pain and I didn't necessarily want to, because I drive, there was certain things that I didn't want to have to take, because, well, like, I didn't want that to interfere. Like, again, like I talk about it all the time, I don't want to miss too many things, you know what I mean? Like, as a human being, you can only process so much, but the more that you can process, the better off you can function in your day-to-day life. So I kept taking supplements. Some supplements I've known, they help with health. Like, it's more your physical health, right? But then other ones, like the cognitive enhancers, those help with your mind, right? But then I started to think about the fact that, what if, like, where's your DNA coding stored? Is it stored in your mind or in your body, right? I mean, I don't know. Someone would have to, like, explain that a little bit more to me. But basically, if for just theoretical reasoning, I would say, like, if your mind was functioning more properly, right, wouldn't your body respond, right? Like athletes, for instance, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's the thing that you notice, right? Like, it's usually like they're a little bit more motivated, right? Because, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a youthful thing. And so that's my thing right there, is that, yeah, I'm like 38 years old, and, like, I've been in some accidents. So sometimes I'm moving around and I'm like, oh man, like, I need to take a little bit more Boswellia. But other times, though, it's just my mind feels young. So, like, it doesn't really matter how my body feels, because, like, my mind is like, hey, dude, like, we got stuff we got to do. So, like, you know what I mean? Sore or not, got to keep going. And then, like, there's that other part, right? January, New Year's resolutions, everybody's out there, like, working out, trying to improve their bodies. Well, then, in the same instance, think of it like this here, right? Like, the reason why most people, like, work out and then they start working out and then they want to do it again is because what ends up happening is you get tired and you get worn down, but you still got to do your other stuff, and then you don't want to be rude, like, I'm sore, I don't really want to deal with that right now. Well, you still kind of got to deal with it anyway. So then, which one do you take out of the equation? Something that's going to make you feel, like, sore to where you're uncomfortable, or the other stuff that you got to do? Obviously, like, if that's the one thing, hey, I just got to take that out of my time right now, but I'll get back to it. But that's the thing, I always think of it like, at the end of the day, like, are you competing against yourself in the instance where you're wearing yourself out for no reason? Or are you competing against